Hello. All right. So I'm going to go over the project one requirements and basically all the steps. This is going to be for Mixcraft. So I'm going to open the project sheet for Mixcraft. And because I have two windows, I'm not going to keep it open over here, but you should definitely follow the instructions. So first thing I want to do is I want to download the number jumble master, which is right over here, as opposed to the previous way that we did it, which was a direct link to the Google Drive folder. The only way you can do this is to right click and open in a new tab, and open that new tab, and you can download it right over here, the arrow pointing down. It will always go into your downloads folder. Sometimes, if depending on the screen, you should probably be using Chrome, but whatever browser you're using usually pops up. Sometimes you have to click Save. If you're using Internet Explorer, I know you have to click Save. It doesn't automatically download. So you can click on the arrow, Show in Folder, and you'll see all of your downloads. At this point, you can close this and just keep the instructions open. I'm going to move this over and open Mixcraft. We want to create a new project. If you continue working on this different days, you can just click the down arrow and select the project. I haven't made project one yet, but I'll show you how all of that will work. We don't need any instrument tracks. You can just make, at this point, 5 or 6 audio tracks. You can always change this later, so it's not a big deal. It's not crucial. Track 1. Again, we want to import the sound. A couple ways to do that. Easiest is to click on Sound, add sound file, find your downloads, and click the number jumble master. You can see I did that a couple days ago, and you will see it here. If I play it,
yes,
there we go.
Hello. Good. Yes. Worries. Yeah.
You might notice that the file is backwards, so we need to reverse it. The easiest way to do that is you want to make sure that it's selected, that you're not somewhere else, otherwise it's not going to work. You want to make sure that you click on the file, and then click again on sound and reverse, and it will automatically reverse if you play it.
9, 1, 3.
Cool. So you have the numbers, but you'll notice that they're not in order. The numbers are from 0 up to 9. There are 10 numbers, and you want to separate them. You want to remove all the silence. You want just the sound itself, and then you want to rearrange them into the correct order. First thing we're going to do is we're going to turn off the grid. So if you notice that there are grid lines here, I'm not able to click just anywhere. I can only click on the grid lines. So to turn that off, I'm going to go over here and click off. So where it says snap to grid, you can also use the little tilde. And if you want to go back to grid, it's just G. So between tilde and G, just on the keyboard. So we're going to snap off. And now I can click, anywhere. I want to zoom in because this is not exact for me. So I have a zoom button here. So on the keyboard, you can hold down Alt, and it will zoom in to where the selector is at the time. So if you click here, you can zoom in, hold down Alt, and scroll up or down. So I'm going to click in the first little bit of audio here, and you can expand the track so you can see it better. If it's too small, it might be a little difficult. If you zoom in all the way, you will see that there is a clear boundary of where the sound starts and where it ends. So we want to separate that. Since this is the first number, you can trim it. So you can just click on the end or at the beginning, and you can just hold it down, click and drag. And you can see now that there is no silence in the beginning. It starts right over here. And since we do have some sound here, we're not able to click and drag. So we want to separate. We want to split that. So you can go down to Edit and Split, which is Control T. Now you have the same thing. So now you have a little section here, and you can either just click and drag, or you can click and Control T. I'm going to zoom out, click, zoom in, make sure that it's exact, Control T, Control T. Since this is now just silence, you can just select it and press delete. You don't need that. We know the first number, you can just play it.
9
is 9. You can right click on it and oh, you can't. Okay. So you can double click on it, and on the sound, you can actually just type in the number 9, and now you can see that the track itself, well, I'm sorry, the audio clip itself is named number 9. This
1
is number 1. You can click here, and again, this is under the sound tab. You can close the sound tab by pressing the minus, open it by pressing the plus. If it's closed, you can double click to open it, and right under sound, this is number 1.
3
Now this is number 3. So click over here and number 3. So now we have number 1, 3, and 9. And again, you have 0 through 9. I want you to start at 0, wherever that is. And you will rearrange these to be in order. But I want you to rearrange them and align them to the grid so that they're evenly spaced. So you will actually, instead of just going to the grid here, you will go into either half notes or quarter notes. I would probably recommend quarter notes, and you will see that the grid is now separated into even boxes again, but they're different size than in the original grid. And if you drag this, 0 is going to be here, then we have 1, 2, 3 is going to be here, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 is going to be right down here. You can mute this while you work on this and just rearrange them. Okay, so you can see that I finished the project essentially, or the first part of the project. I have all the tracks, and I have all the audio clips, and they're separated on the track. It doesn't look like much if it's if the track is made very small, so you want to expand it, and you will see that all of the audio is here. You will notice that I did use the quarter note grid, and nothing overlaps. And if you try to move anything, it snaps to each individual block. Even number 7, it kind of looks like it might overflow. It's just exactly where I cut it. So if you listen back, you will see that they're all, the spacing between them isn't even, but they all start exactly on the quarter note. And if you want, you can select eighth notes. You'll see that this breaks it down into halves a little more. If you go into half notes, you will see that 2 of them fit exactly there. So if you go back and play it.
0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Maybe the 7's cut off a little bit. That's not really a big deal. What I really don't want you to do is, for example, if you cut something here,
9, 9.
Clearly that's cut off. So you want to make sure that you get the beginning of each track, and then go into your grid mode and make sure that you have it. So this is fine. This is good. This is what I am expecting. And you are not done yet. Okay, so now we have 0 through 9. Now I want to go back down to 0. What I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse the tracks here. Easy way to copy is to right-click and copy, and then you can right-click and paste. That's one way. You can also select a little longer, edit, copy, click where you want it to be pasted, and then edit, paste. You do have to click exactly where you want the file, the track, where you want the file to be pasted. If you just, for example, number 6, if you copy and then paste, it's going to paste right into that spot, and you can actually drag it over if you would like, but it does get overwritten. There is another shortcut, and that is to hold down the Alt key on the keyboard and then just click and drag, and it just makes an immediate copy like that. I'm going to zoom out. 3, miss 2, 1, 0. So now this is 60% of the project. You want to just again, first you need to reverse the file. You need to separate the numbers. You need to rename all the numbers. You need to rearrange them into the right order, and then align them to the grid so that they're all evenly spaced. That is 60% of the project. The other 40 is the creative element, which is going to start after all of this. Leave this as is. Do not change it. Do not delete it. Do not add any effects. Don't put anything underneath, because it will play at the same time. After this counts 3, 2, 1, 0, then you can start your composition. I gave you a lot of examples, which is in the examples folder, which is linked to the assignment page. So you'll see all the kind of weird things that you can do. For example, if you take 0 and you copy it down here, in this case, you probably want to stay off grid. But at this point, you can kind of do anything you want. There are some effects that you can do. So if you go to sound, you can use transpose or a time shift. So if you do a time stretch, for example, and this is selected, and you go to, let's say, 50%, you will see that it's now half the length.
0, 0.
If you make a copy of this, and then you make this 200%, you'll see that it's twice as long.
0.
So that's one cool thing you can do. If you move this over, let's just move it to the second track. You can do something like this. And you can see this is being snapped to grid, just so that this is even, but this is
0, 0, 0, 0.
And you can do the same thing to the longer track.
Zero.
So that's pretty cool. You can also add effects if you click on the effects button, and then I'm not going to go over this. You can kind of just experiment, have some fun. For example, if you click a flanger,
0.
The one thing you have to remember is that this does affect the entire track as opposed to an individual clip. So you can turn that off. You can just click X if you want to remove it, or you can select a chain. There's really a lot of various effects. One little note. Let's say if we take 5, put it on a new track. One little note: you do not have to use the entire
0.
Oops. You do not have to use the entire audio clip. You can cut it at this point. This is the creative part, the creative composition. And I would highly recommend that you layer and you use multiple tracks. That's what we did in the beginning. You can make this one a little smaller now, so you have a little more real estate, as they call it, a little more space to work with. And you can really just go crazy. If you switch to time, from beats to time, you'll see that we're in measures right now, and if you go into eighth notes, you'll see the exact subdivision of the eighth notes. If you click that off and you just click time, you will actually get the second counter here. So if I'm starting at about 10 seconds, I want this composition to be no more than 30 seconds. But it should be at least 15. So if you're starting at the 10-second mark, you should go to about 25 seconds at least. And if you really want to go crazy, I would say, don't go more than 40. So between 15 and 30 seconds. And when you zoom out, wherever your project is, I'm just going to make a quick copy of this. I don't want you to do this because this is about 5 minutes worth of work. But just for this example, if I press 0 on the keyboard, this will automatically adjust to view. Or if you go into view and you go into zoom to project, this will zoom into your entire project. If you use multiple tracks, you can adjust the size of the tracks. And you'll see that in most cases, you can still see the name of the track. So even if you make them really small, you can still see that all of the numbers are present. At this point, you can take a screenshot. So what I don't want is some of you gave me a screenshot that was like this, and then you took another screenshot over here, and then you took another screenshot, took another screenshot. That stuff I really don't need to see, but if you just press 0, it will snap the entire project. But this kind of repeats just over and over and over again, which is not a lot of fun. So if you are going to make between 15 and 30 seconds for a composition, I want you to make it different. Don't just copy and paste 2 seconds of audio. There's a lot of effects that you can do. Between a time stretch, there's a pitch shift there, transposition, all the various effects that are present. There's really a lot you can do. So do everything that you are supposed to. Then when you are done, take the screenshot. You go. You want to make sure nothing is soloed or muted that you don't want there. So in case you mute the top track, make sure that you unmute it before you submit it. Click File, Mix down to MP3. Haven't saved the project yet, so it's going to remind you to save the project, and we're going to save it as, I'm just going to save it as Project 1. Project 1. Now it wants me to mix the audio file, so I will give it, let's see, number Jumble example. You can give me a more creative title depending on your composition. That's totally up to you. And you don't have to change anything here. Just leave it as a MP3 file and then click Save. And you want to, again, remember where this is going. So it might be easier just to save this to the desktop. And let's see that it's done. It will automatically open your media player and will play the file. It will play the file to make sure that it is what you wanted it to be. You should always check your export file before you upload it, just in case it is not what you wanted, in case it's the, don't upload the master file again. So definitely don't save it as number jumble master, because that will be very confusing. That is the project.